So Joe Rogan said some super controversial stuff on his stream recently, and let me find exactly what he said. I'm gonna quote. Let's quote him.
Quote if you want.
You have the quote?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, can you read it?
The quote that a lot of people are saying right now is, he's saying video games are a real problem. You know why? Because they're, and I'm going to censor myself, they're effing fun.
Mm-hmm.
They're addictive. I have a real problem with them. You do them and they're really exciting, but you don't get anywhere.
Yes.
And that's usually the quote that they're taking. Fairly out of context, actually.
Yes. And he even said, I think before he said that quote, he said that he has a real problem with them. He's like, I have a real problem with video games. You know, he said that they, because I watched that part to see if it was taken out of context, and like even afterwards, just for like everybody's aware, I want to give you context. Even before, he's like, they have a game room in the podcast office, and there's a game, there's like a LAN room, and he doesn't even go in there because he's so addicted to games. So he even stopped going into that room because he would just play all day. And even his coworker was like, bro, you have a problem. Like, I'm done playing with you. And he's like, what? You know, so those are his own words.
I think Quake is his biggest game.
Yeah, Quake, exactly. He said he used to be super, super addicted to Quake. So it seems like he's talking like about himself, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's something to take personally, like a lot of people did that I saw.
A lot of people.
Dark Reject, thank you so much for using your Twitch Prime on me. I really appreciate that. So Kelly, you can continue here.
So it kind of blew up. Let me see. He went on and said, you could be doing something exciting and fun, or you could just be playing an effing video game, right? So there's a 4.5-minute clip of this.
Wait, hold on, Kelly.
In context.
Ninja Bunny, thank you so much for the Twitch Prime. Thank you so much, Ninja Bunny. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, continue.
So I'm looking at chat a little bit. Nothing was worded incorrectly. A lot of things were taken out of context. Basically what it boiled down to is you have a lot of these content creators and a lot of these pro gamers just blowing up their Twitter, right? Saying Joe Rogan is bad. There's a huge, one of the biggest Twitch content creators right now, and I won't say his name, but he even said, what did he say
Ninja,
recently?
Right?
No. Ninja actually had a really good take on Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I saw Ninja's video. I like Ninja's video. I like Ninja.
No. Ninja had a good video and he had good things to say. But another person on Twitch, who is one of their biggest streamers, I quote, he said, listening to this podcast is a waste of time. Generalized bad takes, anything can be harmful in excess. This guy, right, he didn't listen to Joe Rogan's podcast at all. He didn't even listen to the 4.5 minutes that Joe Rogan was talking about games.
It's so strange. And I talk about this all the time. And I'm sorry to interrupt you, the Sad Potatoes. Thank you so much for extending your sub through November. I really appreciate that. But it's so strange to me that people see a clip and immediately take that at face value, like a 5-second clip or a 10-second clip, whatever it may be, and people will take that at face value. And that's why we have a joke on my stream saying like, oh, someone's gonna take that out of context, because it's so easy and it's so strange to me, especially on Twitter of all places. People take these things at face value and don't do any digging after that, you know? And I think the initial clip of Joe Rogan, even if it was taken out of context, I don't think he said anything wrong personally.
Every single person that has attacked Joe Rogan, and Ninja is the only big streamer and content creator out there that actually had a good take because he was aware of everything that he said. Everyone took it out of context. Everyone. Not a single person outside of Ninja probably even saw the podcast or listened to it.
And it seems so strange, you know? It seems so strange how naive people are, because even when I see something, I always like double check, or I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go, you know, watch the whole thing and see exactly what he was talking about, because it's like, it's been happening for so long, especially on like the social media platforms, like things being taken out of context all the time. So would think that it would be habit just to put in the extra 10 minutes to put it in context. Do you know what I mean?
Let me link to chat some of the words Ninja said. It's actually a pretty good link, and it sums up everything. It's from complex.com.
If anyone's gonna get mad, they should watch this one dude saying, if you play video games for any amount of time, you're a loser. What's that, Shadow? Shadow, what's that? Who said that? Oh, congratulations, IKEA. But
So basically, you watched Ninja's video, right?
yes, I saw it on the Philip DeFranco show.
Okay. So to bring up everybody up to speed on what Ninja said, Ninja's quote was, "They're streaming, content creation, YouTube, being a professional player, being a freaking coach." Okay, and he goes on and on and on. He says, basically, he's implying that there's a lot of stuff that has happened in the last 3 or 5 years in gaming and content creation in general that many people outside of this industry have no idea what's going on, right? There's so much that you can do career-wise.
Well, even Joe Rogan said, he said there's a lot of people out there making money from gaming. He said that after.
He did.
Yeah,
he did.
So he's already confirmed. Ninja basically said, he's like, I think Joe Rogan's a little ignorant, and I'm not directly quoting, I'm just verbatim. He said, I think Joe Rogan's a little bit ignorant to how much you can do in esports and gaming, from being a journalist, from being a team manager, for being a content creator, from being a competitor, from being like a photographer specifically for esports. There's a lot of things you can do in gaming. There's so many job opportunities now. It's insane that you can't name all of them. And that's basically or at least how I interpreted it when Ninja said that, because I was like, oh, Ninja does have a point. It's not just black and white. It's either you're a streamer or you're not a streamer. You're a world-class competitor. You're not. It's not that anymore. It's branched out so far,
Absolutely.
Emma, thank you so much for the tier 1 sub. I love your name. That's so cute. But
So
yeah.
In this particular podcast, he's talking to the gentleman who started the Spartan exercise athletic program. Okay, so he's kind of a big deal, and he's having this conversation with this gentleman, and immediately they both have kids. Keep that in mind. They both have kids, and the guy that Joe Rogan is talking to, he says, my kids are saying you can make money now. And I tell him it's 1 in a billion. It's 1 in a billion, Joe. And Joe immediately says, well, I don't think it's 1 in a billion. Tell you what, there are a lot of kids that are making money on video games. And he continues on. He talks about Fortnite. He talks about COD. He talks about StarCraft, right? Joe Rogan is about my age. He actually has a pretty good OG type video game history and PC gaming background. But what Joe Rogan doesn't know is what Ninja is talking about and what you just addressed: content creation, coaching, right? There you can be an esports writer. Brahmanos in our chat, one of our mods, is an esports writer. You know people on ESPN who are part of the esports industry.
Well, look at chat too. It's not just Brahmanos. JB Woodward just said, I'm an editor-chief for a gaming content company. The video game industry is huge.
There you go. And so there's a lot of aspects that Joe Rogan is, like you said, ignorant about. At the same time, he continues on in his podcast and says, you know what? My parents said the same thing about comedy, right? Because Joe Rogan, his whole background is stand-up.
Yeah.
Right? And he said, my parents said 1 in a billion. Only a few people out in the world can actually make a living off of comedy. And then Joe, he shot back and he said, well, there are people actually making money on it, right? Well, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. And he actually compared comedy, stand-up, with gaming in the sense that, yes, you can absolutely make a good career on it. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise. So even though he's coming off from a perspective of being ignorant to what you can actually do in gaming, he actually was very supportive of gaming still.
Well, and the thing that confuses me especially is because I've talked about this on my stream, and so I've talked about basically Science Bish, thank you so much for extending your sub through August, but I've talked about how basically streaming is not you shouldn't put all your eggs into just hoping that you become a successful streamer or a successful competitor, no matter how good you are at a game, right? And you should never put your eggs in one basket. And I've actually talked about this on stream and how much it actually bothers me, because none of this is, guaranteeable? Does that make sense?
Guaranteed.
Yeah, none of it is guaranteed. None of it is guaranteeable, right? So I was
Guaranteed, Aru,
guaranteeable. None
guaranteed.
of this is guaranteeable. Anyway,
Stop using words that
but
don't
like
exist, please.
some kid came out. I don't remember which esports team he was on, but he was a big Fortnite player, and he was basically telling people like they should drop out of school, they should drop everything and focus on becoming a big streamer. And a lot of streamers and gamers had a problem with that because they had the same thing. Like, it's not guaranteed. Why would you tell a bunch of impressionable young kids to put all their eggs in this basket when only a few percent are successful in this field, you know? And so everybody seemed to be attacking that kid, but as soon as Joe Rogan basically says the same thing, like, it's wasting time if you're all you're doing is playing games and you're not seeing any return on it, it is a waste of time, in my opinion. Maybe once in a while, but obviously, like, too much of anything. If you're playing games for 9 hours, not working, not going to school, not doing anything, just sitting in your room playing games, I don't know why this is controversial, but yes, it's a waste of time. You know, like, you can play a couple hours a day and that's fine, but if your day is just staying in your room doing nothing else and you're not even streaming it or making money off of it, yes, I believe it. That's my personal opinion. I believe it is a waste of time, especially as somebody who has lived that. So just for context, for those of you who don't know or who are new here, I didn't always stream for a long time, and I was basically the caretaker for my grandma who had dementia. So I would basically take care of my grandma all day, and then I was stuck at home. Like, I decided not to go to school too, so that I could make sure my grandma was fine, because taking care of my grandma was a full-time job. You know, I'd pick her up out of bed, I'd change her, I'd feed her, I'd give her medicine, I'd make sure that she doesn't get bed sores, so I'd move her over to the couch, you know, like, I'd spend time with her, because I was the only person she sort of had while mom was working and my brothers were working and my sister was going to school and getting her master's, right? So I was the primary caretaker for my grandma, but obviously when they'd come home, they'd take over and then I'd get to take a break. But at that time, I would stay home for like literally months on an end. Like, it would not be strange for me to stay home for 30 days in a row and not leave once, you know? So I would stay at home and I would take care of my grandma. You know what my biggest escape was during that time? Was my video games, you know, especially it's a big reason why Final Fantasy 15 is so important to me, because I spent like 400 hours on that game, and that was the only thing that I felt like I had for escapism. But I was 100% addicted, and that was most of my day was playing video games. You know, it was playing video games, then taking care of grandma when she needed me, then playing video games, then going to grandma when she needed me, you know, then playing video games when my mom came home and that was my break time, and then I play video games and then go to sleep and do the whole thing over. And I can say that I was doing that was my pattern for about 3 or 4 years straight. So I was 100% addicted to video games. And like, at the time, like, my family was telling me that I was addicted to video games and that's all I did. And I didn't believe it. You know, I was like, no, I'm not. Like, this is the only escapism I have. So it's not an addiction, you know, like, I just play because I have nothing else to do. And I tried to justify it in my head. But like, it was never, I was 100% addicted to video games, and I was literally playing these games and it was such a waste of time for me. Like, now that I realize, like, after 3 years of just being addicted to video games, I realize that, yeah, I was wasting time. There was a lot more that I should have been doing at that time. I should have been studying for, like, I had to take the ACT and I would never study for it, you know? And I did the ACT was, my family was really trying to get me to do that and get a good score, and I just wouldn't do it. I'd put it off, you know? My sister would be like, let's go out, let's go do something fun, and then I'd be like, nah, I'm gonna stay here playing video games. My friends would literally invite me out to do things, and I would bail on my friends just to play Final Fantasy. I'm not kidding. It really took over my life. And even in, like, when I was a sophomore in high school, I bailed on homecoming, I bailed on prom. Think about it. I hadn't seen my friends in years, basically, but my friends, I kind of explained how, like, their morals changed and my morals changed. But anyway, my friends would invite me out to go to prom or homecoming and spend time with them, and I would legit bail just to play Halo Reach with my online friends. My sister's in here too. You can ask her. Like, Aisha, was I not addicted to video games? I would legit bail on my friends just to play Halo Reach, you know? Like it was bad. Like I regret a lot of the things that and I had fun on those. I really have good memories from like Halo Reach and Final Fantasy. And I always enjoy those memories, but especially when I look back on it, there were so many important moments I missed in my life, you know? Like I was playing Halo Reach when I could have been spending time with my grandma. And I regret that a lot. Like that's one of the biggest things I regret in my life. If I could go back and not pay as much attention to video games, but pay more attention to my grandma. Because I think about it and I was like, I should have been spending more time with her. I'm sorry, this is like a very sensitive topic for me, so I might cry. My grandma's the most sensitive topic for me, but like every time I look back on it, I was like, I shouldn't have been playing video games. I should have been spending time with her. You know what I mean? So I really do
So
think
this is
video game addiction is a genuine like big problem, you know, especially from somebody who had it.
and that's the perspective that Joe was talking about when he worded what he said, right? He's not talking about gaming as a career or all this stuff. That it'll still be great if Ninja can actually go on a podcast with him, because it'd be very illuminating for, I think, a good chunk of the world, right?
Yeah.
But that gaming addiction, the you know the Kyle Jones down the street who does nothing but just play Madden every hour, and he doesn't contribute to the house, doesn't help with bills, and all he wants is the latest Xbox game that Joe Rogan was talking about. These are the individuals that Joe is actually referring to,
Yeah.
right?
And I think a lot of
It,
people just somehow took it personally, you know, especially like me, you know, especially like and I hate to make it about myself, but I can relate so big, you know, like as somebody who
mhm,
used to have this exact problem and now I'm actually able to do it and still be productive. You know, like I'm able to play video games and be productive, but like I'm no longer, even though I'm being productive with video games, it's no longer an addiction for me, you know.
right.
And so, as somebody who's overcome, like who has come over that and isn't addicted to video games anymore, like
Mhm.
I don't understand how people are taking it so out of context and so personally. You know,
So
like it
personally,
seems
yeah.
like they're just, and I'm sorry for like assuming this, but it seems like they're trying to find a problem out of nothing. You know what I mean? Like I read some of the people what they were saying about Joe Rogan, even people who I'm actually close to, and I'm just
They don't know what they're talking about. They know nothing of what they're talking about.
like how does somebody take that personally, you know, especially if you're successful in your field and you are, it is like he wasn't talking to you, like all the streamers and like competitors and all the people who are successful, quote unquote, in gaming. The fact
Mhm.
that they're taking it so personally, like maybe you need to reevaluate what you see as success and not, because there was no reason for anybody to take that personally, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. I agree. Did you miss the biddies?
Boogie Wick, thank you so much for the 100 biddies. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Omega is alive and well, by the way.
Oh, is he? Omega, why
Hmm.
aren't you messaging us back? But
I
yeah,
just woke up from a nap.
I see. Like I read the whole Joe Rogan thing. Like the first person who posted it, who was it? It wasn't Slasher, but it was the guy who first posted that clip out of context. And I saw it, and I was like, he didn't say anything wrong. Like I don't think he said anything wrong.
Well, what grinds my gears, right, Peter Griffin style, is when they do show a clip of Joe Rogan, when they actually show him quoting, himself, like him actually just talking about the podcast or in the podcast. It's a 1 minute clip, bro.
Gaming
He has 4.5 minutes of talking about this in context.
Mm-hmm.
It's just BS. These people talking about it and attacking him, they don't know what they're talking about.
Big Dunk, I'm really sorry. My condolences, but I definitely understand it. You know, it's really hard because you feel so much of like just so much time that you should have given to something else was given to one thing. You know what I mean? Lacosta, thank you so much for gifting us up. Thank you so much, Lacosta. But yeah, I feel like that's why I am such a big fan of Ninja. I know a lot of people don't like Ninja, but I feel like Ninja time and time again shows nothing but he's just a good role model. I think he's a good face for gaming, you know, especially when Ninja could have like taken that personally and dunked on Joe Rogan. You know what I mean? Like
He was the only content creator that I saw that actually replied back or had anything of value to say.
Well,
because he actually knew what Joe Rogan was talking about.
and it's because I think Ninja's so successful that he didn't take it personally. He's like, oh, he's not even talking to me, which that's the case
Mhm.
100%. Joe Rogan even says in the original podcast, he says, yeah, there are a lot of people out there who make monies, like streamers and content creators and stuff like that, you know?
Well, he never talked about streamers. Don't misquote.
Or whatever it was, verbatim, he said there are successful people in gaming who make money.
Sure.
So the fact is, like, if you are somebody in gaming who makes money, why would you take that personally? Like, he literally wasn't even talking to you. He was talking to people who are, like, just wasting their time. And I don't see what's the problem is. I think, honestly, I genuinely think, especially because there's so many young kids in gaming, especially now, we should be talking about gaming addiction.
So anyway, Ninja actually wants to go on Joe's podcast, which will be huge. It'll be huge for gaming. It'll be huge for content creators. It'll be huge for Joe as well.
Yeah.
And that's actually really exciting.
I hope Ninja goes on there. I really, really hope so. And I think, like I was saying, I think they need to talk about gaming addiction more. You know, I really, really think it's a problem that should be discussed more. Especially, like, it's so weird that there's, like, so many studies saying video games make you violent, blah, blah, but, like, they're not even talking about the real problem. It seems like they're literally making up an issue instead of talking about something that's actually dangerous, you know? Like, you can have an addiction to it, and that's completely normal, you know, because like Joe Rogan said, they are fun. It is escapism. And when you can escape into a whole nother world and not worry about any of your problems, of course you're going to get addicted to that, you know? I'm pretty sure every gamer at some point has been addicted to gaming. You know what I mean? I know I have. So some games are designed to be addictive too. Yeah, I mean, especially like with Final Fantasy 15, like I put like 400 hours in that, and I genuinely could. You could just leave me on an island, you know, with a good internet and some video games, and I would be completely okay. You know what I mean? And that's scary to think about. That really is, because that's how powerful they are.
You want to get Omega in here? I think
okay.
I mean, long story short, we can wrap this up on the Joe Rogan thing. It's content creators out there attacking him are coming from more ignorance than Joe Rogan was. They don't know what they're talking about, and they were just lashing out blindly.
And I think that's wrong because he even had to address it. And if I were Joe Rogan, I hadn't even addressed it. Like, I would not address that. So
he didn't have to. My opinion on that is Joe Rogan respects history of gaming and respects gamers to the point that he did want to clarify, even though he didn't have to clarify because everybody was misquoting him, right?
Yeah.
But bottom line, Ninja actually had some value to talk about, and hopefully they do a podcast together. That'd be awesome. And that's really it. Joe Rogan was being taken out of context, and people were attacking him all over Twitter. You know, people that we know, big names, smaller names. It just happened. It shouldn't have.
And I was so shocked, you know, because I hate to say this, and I hope I can say this. Please don't. I just thought this is going to be really mean, but I think if people just randomly, like some of the people I saw who I was close to attacking Joe Rogan, they look like idiots. Like, they just straight up look like idiots. And you know what's wrong? I think it's weird that some people who are quote unquote successful, because they make it out to be like, oh, I'm successful, I'm doing what I love, I won this, this, and this, I'm so well known, you know, like they have giant ass egos. It's the people with the giant ass egos who took it personally. And I think that says a lot about a person. I think it says a lot about them. I think it says a lot about their confidence. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I genuinely noticed it's the people with the biggest egos. Not all, but a lot of people who took it personally and started attacking Joe Rogan have huge egos.
I
And I
mean,
think it
at the
said a
very
lot.
least, they could have just spent 4 minutes to
Just
actually
watching
listen to the
it.
entire clip.
Yes,
Yeah.
just and not even you don't even have to go to the podcast. If you watch somebody like I'm pretty sure Scarce is going to cover it or did cover it. I don't remember if Scarce or not covered it. But Scarce probably cover it. Philip DeFranco covered it. That's how I like saw Ninja's response and stuff because I heard it through the Philip DeFranco show. And it's like you don't
Of
even
course he
have to
did.
go to the original podcast. You could literally just see what's being reported on it. You know. It's not that it really isn't that hard just to do some extra research. And for those who
Okay.
lashed out, I would take it as a learning moment. And from now on, don't take things at face value until you do your own research.
Do your research, please. God.
I feel so bad for Joe Rogan too because he was like opening up about this personal struggle he had, and he didn't make it like sappy or emotional. He's just like, yeah, this is something I've struggled with, and people are attacking him over it. I'm like, bro, leave the dude alone, you know? And I
Yeah,
don't
it's
even
really
really
sad.
watch his podcast like all that much. I only watch it when Kelly's watching it. But I like the dude. I think he's great, you know? So I just feel so bad for him, you know, because he even says like he was obsessed with Quake. He gets addicted to video games. Imagine like being shunned by a community you're a part of and something that you love. Because I mean, for all of us to be honest, it seems like he's pretty passionate about video games and loves video games. And he's just honest, like I get addicted. Like once I start playing, I cannot stop, which is like that's with all gamers. So he was basically saying something that we
Right.
all experience. Like the whole one more game is a huge
Mhm.
meme because
Oh,
they
yeah.
are addictive AF. So like for him to just say like, yeah, I'm like passionate, like they're addictive, and just saying nothing that's wrong, and for having a whole community of something he's passionate about shun him is so upsetting and heartbreaking. Like
Right.
they need to
Right.
chill. Really, just chill out, man. He wasn't even, and that's the thing, he wasn't even talking to you. Why? Why are you trying to dunk on him? Man, it's so upsetting. I really like Joe Rogan though.
You got a sub.
It's Dash.
Deech.
Deesh. It's Deesh.
Deech. Just Deech.
Hey,
Not
it's
Deesh.
Deesh. Thank you so much for the tier 1 sub. Thank you. So yeah.
So one thing though, what was really adorable, I'll show you the 4.5 minute clip. It's really adorable because he's talking to the guy and he's saying, "Man, but what are the kids making money on these days? Fortnite, Call of Duty," and then he even says, "StarCraft." So he's so far behind on the times. It's really adorable.
Yeah, the Joker said you can get addicted to water, even honey. Yeah, you can get addicted to anything. So and just video games, it makes it hella easy to get addicted to them. They're great. They're awesome, So I don't know. I feel bad for Joe Rogan. I think people who lashed out should take this as a learning experience, and never do it again.
Yeah.
But I'm also like, I don't know, even people who like lashed out at him, I was trying to keep an open mind, like how they could have interpreted it. And even like some of the things that I read, because I was looking at like the Twitter thing for it. And so everything that like everybody said, they just didn't have any good points. They're like a lot of people were like, oh, well, I'm doing this and I'm making money, so it's not a waste of time. It's like, dude, if you watch like this whole you are arguing, and it's just a bad faith argument because you are arguing a point that he never made to begin with, So it's just a bad faith argument. You're not even listening. You're not even trying to understand. So already you are just being toxic, because in order to have an argument with somebody, you have to try to understand where they're coming from and what they're arguing, so you can argue against that. But if you're making an argument of something that that's not even a point they were trying to make, or something they never even said, it's just bad faith all around, and you look like an idiot. And a lot of people were saying like, well, I'm making money. Like, then if you're making money, he's not talking to you, idiot.
Yeah.
So it was just, I felt like people were being hella toxic, man.
They were.
So yeah.
I mean, it's the whole mob with torches mentality. How dare you make fun of my hobby, Joe? I make money.
And that's why I think it's so dangerous, because it seems like we can't even like talk about, like, there are bad effects of video games, Like, it's not all good. Like everything, there's good and there's bad. And so the fact that you can't even talk about, like, video games being a possible waste of time or video games being addictive is scary, because they're so dangerous. Like, it's so dangerous when you become addicted. And I say that as somebody who just, like, as I just said, I was addicted for 3 years and I regret it completely. And I harbor a lot of guilt because of it. You know what I mean?
Before I leave, and I do have to go back to work right now, I just want to address this. You're talking about 3 years of regret, and I know there are a lot of reasons for your regret, and it's totally respectable, and I think chat, your entire community understands it. At the same time, if you had not spent so much time gaming during those 3 years with your passion, let's not talk about the things that you've neglected or whatever. You are the person that you are now. We are here as a community because of what you did.
No.
You have solidified. No, let me finish. You've solidified as a character, as a streamer, as a content creator, as an influencer, all that stuff because of everything that you did. So please take that regret with at least a bit of a grain of salt, right?
I disagree with you, Kelly, because I wasn't even
you
streaming
can,
back
because
then.
you're a perfectionist. You have regrets. Of course, you're going to disagree. I'm just telling you from an outside perspective. Many of us are very happy that you are the person that you are now. Okay?
Thanks. But I disagree. But thank you.
That was
fine. Very kind of you.
Okay. Let's get Omega in here, and we're going to tag out.
Wait,
okay? So
do you want to talk about the Wizard?
The Wizard is one of the greatest movie/video game commercials of movie history, people.